football is back. Excitement is in the air. I'm just running out of words because I have nothing else coming out of my mind besides football. I'm just going crazy right now. Couple hours away from kickoff. It just feels like the longest off season ever. I don't know, guys. Excitement everywhere. Like I said, how much excitement do you have? Welcome football. Welcome Keenan. Welcome Eric. Welcome everybody to the Mafia podcast. Hey, like I said, I'm Antonio. This is Keenan. That's Eric. What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. It honestly hasn't hit me yet. I don't know if it's the nice weather. It just doesn't feel like
That's the no preseason. So I was
Yeah.
gonna say the same thing. It doesn't like Antonio said. It's been a long off season. There was no preseason, so it just doesn't feel.
we complain about the preseason for the last 5-6 years. Get rid of 2 games, go to 1 game, go to 2 games.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm wishing we had 4 games.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, man. Obviously, so much going on this off season and in 2020 in general that's made it take forever. But again, we're just glad we're here. Glad we're here for sure. We have some players we're going to talk about today that obviously we're excited about going into week 1. We're going to talk about some players that maybe we're not so excited about. Obviously hit up some news and notes and a little bit of some fantasy awards. Do a little bit of some preview here for the season. But some sad news to start off here. So Von Miller, he did tear a tendon in his ankle, which is going to require some season-ending surgery. That's Von Miller now out, and they lost Bradley Chubb last year, so they kind of haven't really been able to be fully healthy for a couple of years now. A lot going with that offense. Trubisky announced as a starter for the Bears. Deshaun Watson got a massive extension, 4-year, $160 million. Kareem, what was that?
A lot of cheddar.
A lot of cheddar. Yeah, it's definitely Mahomes' contract is definitely setting the market right. I mean, $40 million is seeming to be that bar right now. I'm wondering who's going to be the next one to jump it. Maybe it could be Dak next year. Kareem got a 2-year, $13.5 million extension. They're keeping him now for 3 seasons, guys. How do you feel about
that? No, how do you feel about that? You're the big
This is so upsetting.
It is very upsetting to see, but I don't know how much it truly affects Nick Chubb because this is what he's been dealing with the last 2 seasons, and he led the league last year in rushing yards, so it's kind of tough to say.
It scares me. I'm really mad that I traded up and gave you a first-round pick next year to get Chubb in our startup league this year, Antonio. It doesn't comfort me. That's for sure. I mean, Hunt's
I drafted him in a startup as well. It's definitely. I was excited for next year because I thought for sure Kareem was going to be going, and I don't know, it took a lot of excitement for his future.
Yeah, but he wasn't going to be getting you. I mean, he's looking to get 25, 30 catches. I was going to hope for a bigger leap this year, but that might be put backwards. But I mean, who's to say that Kareem doesn't get traded if he does really well? I mean, it's not a horrible deal that another team.
I don't think they want to trade him. I mean,
no, not this year, of course.
I mean, maybe.
I know Stefanski. Maybe he wants to use 2 running backs consistently. I know they talk about that, so we'll get to see. But I don't know. I think both their values kind of just stay where they were.
Check went down a little bit for me.
Yeah, I understand it. Malcolm Brown got announced as the Week 1 starter for the Rams. Does that worry you at all for Cam Akers? No, me either. Probably get the first snap.
I'm expecting them to be splitting carries in the beginning of the season anyways, all of them, but
yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a mess for the first couple weeks.
I mean, just think about it. He's a rookie. There was no preseason games. There's barely any training camp, no off-season workouts. Does he really know the playbook yet? Like, it's going to take some time for some of these rookies to get into, a mojo here.
That too, and I wouldn't be surprised if Malcolm Brown starts the first series and then Cam Akers out for the second, and then they just rotate or something like that.
Yeah, starting is such a relative term in the NFL because it literally is who's out there for the first snap.
He could be out there for the first snap and then come off the field. So
yeah, remember when couple of years ago here in Buffalo, Tyrod Taylor was announced a starter, and they and Rex Ryan put him out at in the slot. And who was the quarterback? It wasn't Peterman. Who
I think it was a tight.
It was the quarterback. It was the back. It was the backup quarterback at the time.
Yeah, I think it was the guy who used to play tight end in college. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. It's funny how that stuff works. And speaking of starters, Alex Smith got put on the 53-man roster for the Washington football team. An amazing story coming back. I don't, as I say, speaking of starters, because obviously he's trying to get himself back to that starting role. Dwayne Haskins was announced a starter, so we'll see how that can shake up this season. Marcus Mariota for the Las Vegas Raiders is on IR for at least the first 3 games. James Robinson looks to be the lead back for Jacksonville, so please make sure you've picked him up. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. Obviously, Leonard Fournette's in Tampa Bay. Last time we talked about maybe where he could end up, but now that we know where he is, how does that make it look for Ronald Jones in your eyes, Eric? I know that you and I have been some big Ronald Jones truthers, so.
Oh, well, I wasn't always really a Ronald Jones truther.
Hey, you watch your mouth.
I actually didn't like him when he first came out. I just more so liked his opportunity there in Tampa, but I mean, it bumps him down a lot now with Fournette there, especially with Arians already saying that they're going to get Fournette a role already week 1, and he's already picking up the playbook quickly.
He's all over the place. One day there's a report of saying that, Jones is his guy. The next day he's saying that Fournette has a big role in week 1. Come on, give us something here, Aaron. Like,
he was talking up Jones. He wanted a good competition in practice, and at that time, and when he said that, I don't even think Fournette hit the practice field for them yet. When he did, I mean, he's showing that he's the best running back on that team.
As a fantasy owner of 21 teams this year, yes, 21, I went up. It's very frustrating, okay, because I got Fournette in a couple leagues and I got Ronald Jones in a couple leagues, and it's every day I'm flipping a coin here. What I'm going to do? So you know what I'm going to do week 1? None of them are starting for me. They're both going to sit on the bench. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, if for some reason I was between the decision of Fournette and Jones, I would be starting Jones. He's been in that offense for a year now. We've talked about before how that Bruce Arians offense is kind of complicated, to learn. But Fournette can get in there and he can get a couple short yards touchdowns. It's really the goal line work. I'm really curious to see what happens.
I was gonna say, honestly, if I'm in that situation, I might be playing Fournette.
I just think Jones is going to get the opportunity right off the bat. I think he's going to get more touches, especially in the passing game. I think he'll get more opportunity. Fournette fits that offense. Like, he fits what Arians wants to do. I get it. But there's a world where Fournette is, just a guy. He's just getting a lot of touches and produced just because he had a lot of touches with Jacksonville. He had great years there, but it's gonna be rough first couple weeks. That's for sure.
Well, with Fournette, you just mentioned there's a chance for him to get a couple touchdowns. That's a good opportunity for those people that play daily fantasy. It might be cheap on FanDuel and other daily fantasy.
Yeah, we're on DraftKings, and yeah, you're right. But Ronald Jones one's getting a lot of the goal line work, at least in the practices. So they've said. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that works out.
You might get Fournette for cheap and hope he gets a touchdown.
True, but nothing more than your flex. Like, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be starting him, but if you are, nothing more than your flex. Honestly, maybe even maybe you're running back 2 if you're questionable with there, and then use somebody stronger like a wide receiver in your flex if it's PPR. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. So Detroit signed AP. Does that scare you for DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson? Turmoil already? More just depth play, do you think? Get some veteran presence?
Yeah, more depth and veteran presence for me.
Yeah.
Rashad Penny starting on the pup for Seattle, so he'll miss at least through week 6. So that should give Chris Carson green light until maybe he fumbles that opportunity. But Carlos Hyde doesn't seem to be a threat. Justin Jackson has a foot injury that he seems to be ready for week 1. But just keep your eye out for Joshua Kelly. That's definitely somebody you want to Maybe try to pick up if you can have some depth this week before that game actually happens, and we'll talk about those players in a few minutes. But like I said, rookie Joshua Kelly, someone to keep your eye on. Devontae Parker came back to practice after missing almost a week with an undisclosed injury. Chris Herndon has a chest injury, which he battled a lot last year, so that's putting some pause for me on Chris Herndon. A lot of promise coming back from his good rookie year, so hopefully he can recover. And last, Chargers Keenan Allen got an extension as well for 4-year, $80 million. And Mike Williams will miss most, if not all, of September. So Keenan Allen gets paid, and probably we'll see a lot of targets in the first couple weeks. All right, that's the news and notes. Sorry, I had to catch up a lot there. But a lot, yeah, there was a lot going on. But like I mentioned, the free agent pickups. So we want to talk about some guys that you might want to grab right now because after week 1, they're not going to be available, or you're going to have to pay a premium for them. So Keenan, why don't you give me a couple players that you were looking at?
Well, one of mine that I have a big star around is Bryce Love. We all know he's very talented. I know, Antonio, you love Bryce Love ever since he was drafted out of college. Where did he go to college?
Stanford,
yeah. And the only reason I say this is, do we really trust Antonio Gibson really to become that number one there? If he struggles and Love gets the ball, gets a couple carries, and he is able to have a couple great runs, break one for a touchdown, maybe by week 2 he's your starter. That goes for a couple other guys. Well, not really for Darrell. I was going to say Darrell Williams as well, but that's more of if Clyde Edwards-Helaire suffers an injury. I don't think we can look at. I don't think we can look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Antonio Gibson in the same category. I feel like obviously Helaire is a lot more talented. He's on a better offense, and I don't think he's going to lose his job. Where I think for Gibson, he has the possibility of losing that job, especially to a very talented backup in Bryce Love. But for Darrell Williams, if Helaire does suffer that injury, Darrell Williams is going to step right into that role. So those are my two big guys at the running back position.
Yeah, I like those two. I mean, like you said with CEH, Darrell Williams has been the offense for a few years too, so they might just give him 10 to 12 touches, or carries and see what he can do with it and compete with CEH for a couple weeks. Like we don't know really what's going to happen. We love to assume he's just going to pop in right there, just like we do with a lot of players. Just like Raquel Armstead after Fournette got dropped. Everyone went and grabbed Raquel Armstead. Well, now look, James Robinson sounds like he's going to be the guy. Raquel got COVID again, unfortunately, but they said even when he comes back, it's going to be James Robinson and Divine Azigbo fighting for it. So, I mean, that's going to be a good battle to watch. But yeah, make sure you have James Robinson on your team if he is in free agency.
Also watch for Sony Michel.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I've been grabbing him in a few leagues just because, I mean, he's coming off surgery, and they're going to ease him into the offense, so he might be somebody you can actually wait a week or two and see what happens there. But they don't really have, other than James White. I mean,
well, yeah, but Damian Harris, he's out now for the first couple games, so I think you're right. That does bring Sony Michel back up. He didn't have the best of practices and the best of news coming up the last few weeks, but you're right. He's kind of just going to get slotted in.
They're going to ease him in, and he could, if he can return to what he was kind of doing a few years ago, then he could be a good waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, I think Sterling Shepard is a big one. He's probably going to be Daniel Jones' number one target. I think he's going to have a pretty big week 1. Not a bad 2020, but I think he'll have a pretty good week 1. Paris Campbell might not be somebody right off the bat, but he's going to be a good person to stash. You want to be at least a week ahead than a week late. And I think week 2 or 3, Phillip Rivers and him are going to start making a connection. McCole Hardman, Keenan. What do you think about McCole Hardman? Between him and Sammy Watkins, who's the guy you'd rather have right now?
I mean, anyone on that Kansas City offense, I would try to stash on my bench. Let me start there. If you have room for Hardman or Sammy, I would definitely stash them. You never know with that Kansas City offense; they're so explosive. I mean, look what Sammy did week 1 last week, and then he kind of disappeared throughout the season. But between the two, obviously Dynasty, I'd rather have Hardman. That we know what Sammy Watkins is, and we kind of are still waiting for Hardman to make that next to make an impact in that offense. For redraft, I think flip a coin, I guess. I mean, I guess right at this point, I'd rather have Sammy because he's higher up on their depth chart.
So you go Sammy probably tomorrow night, or I'm sorry, for tonight
Tonight already?
as well instead of McCall, if you had to pick between one of the two.
Yeah, I think until Hardman can show that he's kind of taking over that role over Sammy, I think you have to go with Sammy at this point.
Yeah, that's. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm actually gonna take Hardman. I think he's gonna get more touchdowns. He might not get as many catches as Sammy. What was that?
Tomorrow night.
Well, what I was gonna say to you was McCall Hardman's listed as the second on the depth chart.
Is he?
So that's why I agree with Eric that I would pick McCall. I mean, obviously he's the second, but he might be the fourth option from Mahomes. But yeah, he's somebody good as well. And Jalen Reagor, everything seems to keep pointing up for him. So I know that people were a little worried he might miss potentially the first month. What'd you say?
If you didn't draft him in the later round, dash him on your IR, and he's still available in a free agency, you better pick him up and put him on the IR if you have a slot open. I would be shocked if in any of our leagues that he was available because I know you two savages.
Oh yeah, no, I've got him in as much as I could still grab. Him and Laviska Shenault.
Yes.
Who is only owned in 23% of, I went by Yahoo leagues. So, I mean, you guys need to get Laviska Shenault. That is 100% somebody. He's going to have a great week one. I'm telling you, he's going to have 80 to 100 total yards and a touchdown. Jacksonville is going to show what they want to do with Laviska Shenault.
Okay.
He's going to run the ball. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to line up in a couple different spots. Laviska's going to be everywhere. So, with that being said, that's our free agent pickups that you should be grabbing right now, this week before that week one. Obviously, if you have other players that are currently in starting roles or more secure roles, you don't want to be dropping them for these guys. But if you have some other players that might be iffies or a second tight end that you have on there, let's drop that second tight end.
Yeah, that's what I just did actually.
Second quarterback, get rid of him.
I dropped OJ Howard and picked up why can't I think of his name? Running back for Jacksonville that we were just talking about. James Robinson. I'm sorry, he was available in one of the leagues. I dropped OJ Howard.
There you go.
So
perfect. So we're gonna slide over now to a little quick segment we wanted to do. Our season preview, our fantasy awards. So we just got a couple categories. We want to list, who we think is gonna win this award that we have here. For example, we have our fantasy rookie of the year is the first one. So I'm gonna actually start us off with that one. Our fantasy rookie of the year. I'm gonna go with Cam Akers of the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm gonna tell you why it's gonna be Cam Akers because Cam Akers is currently going right around the fifth, fifth round. So you don't have to pay that extra premium for a running back that's already in high demand in the first two rounds. So this also gives you the ability to go, wide receiver in the first round or in the second round or even both, But my best situation I've been working around lately has been getting Miles Sanders, then the likes of Mike Evans or DJ Moore in the second round. And then come round 4 or 5, I'm able to get Cam Akers as my second running back. I've been pretty happy with those teams. And like I said, you don't have to pay a premium for him. And I think he's going to be the lead back. How about you, Keenan? Who do you have?
That's the same way I feel with Jonathan Taylor, honestly. You pretty much said everything I was going to say. You're not going to pay that price that you would pay for like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, where you got to get him in the first round. Where Taylor, I've seen him go down to the 6th, 7th round, 8th round, and I would be shocked if he's not the starter by week 2, where he's getting more carries than oh my God,
Marlon
Mack. It's getting late again, guys. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's a steal. If he's able to become an RB1 for you and you are draft him in 7th, 8th round, that's a steal for you.
Yeah, I guess I went with the easy choice, but I mean, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's going to be the rookie of the year. He's going to have a fantastic year. Same thing happened with Kareem Hunt. He broke out on a Thursday night game, and a star was born. And tomorrow night, another star will be born, and that is Clyde Edwards-Helaire himself.
I hope so. I have so
Telling you.
much stock.
Yeah, for everyone's sake, man.
I
It's
have
gonna
so much-
imagine if he bust out, man.
Listen,
That would be horrible.
Listen, I might be retiring. This is
Eric,
it won't be a pretty picture for any of my teams.
no, it won't. No, it won't. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our other award, and like I said, remember we're all fantasy related here. So we're gonna do our fantasy MVP. Why don't you guys start it off, Eric?
Yeah, for my fantasy MVP, most people, I guess, would go with Christian McCaffrey, but I think Saquon Barkley could potentially take the throne this year. They have a much better offense, healthy, hopefully better offensive line, another year with Daniel Jones. And I just think that offense as a whole is just going to work better for him. He's going to be healthy himself. And yeah, this could be the year he dethrones him.
Been saying it all off season. Welcome to the club, baby. Welcome to the club. There's a lot of room on that bandwagon. I agree with you on that. I like we mentioned in the last podcast, there hasn't been a player that's repeated as number one fantasy player in back-to-back years. So I could definitely see that. For me, I have our boy here from Buffalo. I have Josh Allen. I think it just because where you're going to where you're going to have a chance to draft him compared to Lamar Miller and Mahomes. There's drafts where I've seen him go in the 9th, 10th round. And I think if he takes that next step here in Buffalo, and because he's a dual threat quarterback, and he addition to of Stephon Diggs, that offense coming back for another year, I think you can see, I don't want to say Allen to take over, 2, but I could see Allen being a top 5 quarterback in fantasy wise. Just because he's a dual threat, has a true number 1 option now, and that offense just coming back as a whole, coming back for another year. Obviously, there hasn't been that many changes in that offense, so I could see Josh Allen becoming that, a great MVP for fantasy wise. He's also one of my MVP candidates for NFL. So I got a couple bills on him.
Doubling down. I've also got a quarterback. I have also been talking about him all off season. It's my boy Matt Ryan, Atlanta Falcons quarterback. He's definitely coming back with his leap year, and he's pushing for top 5, if not top 3 quarterback. I'm very excited for what he can do. I think he's going to get very close to 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns. So very, very, very excited for Matt Ryan. All right, let's move on to our next one. That's our comeback player of the year for fantasy. Mine is Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, obviously, he's tied a little bit to Ben Roethlisberger's injury, but he had his own sets of injuries, and I think that Ben Roethlisberger comes back in, and he slots into getting almost 150-plus targets, and Juju has a nice year like 2018.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ben coming back is just going to really help him. I think that's the big key, right? I mean, they don't. There's what's his face just got caught who was throwing ducks to him and couldn't complete a 20-yard pass. So I think having a Hall of Fame player come back, Hall of Fame quarterback come back for Juju is huge. For me, I went with the quarterback route. I took Matthew Stafford. I think last year, the way he started the year off, he was amazing. And then he got injured, which was it was horrible, obviously. And so I think he's got a great offense. I think with a lot of talent around that offense. He has Kenny Galladay. They drafted Swift. They improved that offensive line. So hopefully all the pieces are there. And if they are, I think Matthew Stafford could be that great comeback player for you. He's second on my after Matt Ryan, he's second on my list to grab in the later rounds for a quarterback.
Yeah, I definitely like that. Especially did you mention how many attempts he was on pace for last year?
I know I saw the yards. He was on like 5,000 yards.
Yeah, he was setting career highs.
Yeah.
It was like 670 attempts.
Yeah.
Through it was an 8 game sample size. It's not like it was only a couple games. It was half the season.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to get to that kind of level, but I mean, yeah, I definitely see him having a great year as long as he stays healthy.
Speaking of healthy,
speaking of another guy that needs to stay healthy is David Johnson. Um, I think he can have a comeback year. Looking at the first part of the year before he got injured, he was I think the RB4, top 5 running back. And I don't know if a lot of people understand like how hard it actually is to come back from a back injury. Everyone's saying, "Oh, he didn't look the same towards the end of the year." Well, obviously, it takes months to actually come back from a back injury, and be yourself. So, the whole off season to rest. I think he comes back and has a good year. Not saying he's 2016 David Johnson, but I think he can have himself a nice year there in Houston.
cool. I like that. I like that pick for sure. Definitely underrated. Going it's like the late teens right now for running backs. Sorry for any drafts that already had happened, but mine's J.K. Dobbins. I know I'm kind of pushing some rookies hard here, but just like we talked about with Cam Akers, Jonathan Taylor, I think that he's going to be that league winner, that's going to be coming up and maybe, week 8, week 9, week 10, somewhere around there. And he's just going to take over, get that 15 to 18 touch game workload. And yeah, like I said, I think he's just going to be leading people to some championships. So like I said, that's my sleeper of the year. Eric, your fantasy sleeper of the year.
Yeah, it's Preston Williams. I think he's going to have a pretty solid year there in Miami as long as he stays healthy. The team loves him. He was doing very good last year before he got hurt as well. And Devontae Parker already had whatever injury he had. It was undisclosed. And he's had a history of injuries as well, which something could pop up, during the season. And all of a sudden, Preston Williams, the number 1 wide receiver there. So yeah, he could potentially pop off and have a great year.
He was definitely popping off before that injury though last year.
Yeah.
I think he was their number 1 before he got.
Yeah, he was definitely doing better than Parker was, and Fitz loved him. And that's the thing is if they switch and Tua comes in, excuse me, then what happens there? Yeah, hopefully it still stays to be Preston. It sounds like they like each other in camp.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell on that. So hopefully Tua can use both of them, Parker and Preston Williams, because they got a lot of shares in both.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
For me, I think you're gonna like this one, Antonio. I got Anthony Miller. I know he's your boy. Ever since he entered the league, I wasn't a big fan of his, but he's very talented. I don't know why I put him on the sleeper year. I just had I don't know. It was a gut feeling, I think. I just think if he's going to be good, this is the year where he's going to be good. If he's not good this year, then he's done. You could get rid of all your Anthony Miller stock. That Bears offense is going to have to figure it out. Hopefully Trubisky doesn't take a step back, even doesn't take another step back. And so I think Anthony Miller, he can actually have a pretty good year. I know he struggled last couple of years, but I'm going to take your word on this one because I know you like him a lot, Antonio.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick very much so, and I'm glad you're coming around. But give me some sad news though with our fantasy biggest bust award. Who's your pick here for the year?
I hate to say it, it's going to be Devin Singletary. Ever since they drafted Moss, I've been thinking about this. Is Moss their starter in Buffalo? And if he is, does Singletary just become a third down back? Because I don't think Singletary was ever drafted to be a first, second, and third down back. He showed flashes last year, but he also had the fumbling issues. Moss, he had in college, he also was able to, catch the ball down the field in Utah. So is he going to touch the ball more than 50% of the carries? I don't know. So I think Singletary has a high chance of being a bust. Where, after the season last year, if you would have asked me what I thought about Devin Singletary, I was like, oh, he's the next upcoming, running back. But once they drafted Moss, that kind of killed the momentum there for me.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype on him, and I mean he's going mid fourth, fifth round. So I mean that's definitely a spot where you want to hit on those kind of players.
Yeah.
So Eric, you got somebody a little bit earlier than the fifth round, huh?
Oh, this is a surprise to me.
I know. I didn't see this one coming either.
All right, Eric, what do we got?
What didn't you? Why didn't you see it coming? Well, I want to know why.
I just thought us three talked about how we were impressed with after Kenyon Drake was traded.
Well, I was saying, why don't we mention first who it is?
Yeah, Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, well, it's Kenyon Drake. I mean, I don't know. It's just.
Is it too good to be true, you think?
I think it could be. I mean, he's never been a full workload kind of guy, and I think it's because the coaches he's had before never thought he could handle a full workload. So I mean, he's gonna get it this year, I believe. But they also really like Chase Edmonds there, and Chase Edmonds is a very good running back. So
They do, but Chase Edmonds was also there second half of the season.
He was, but I don't know. It's tough. He did very good. I mean, he was on pace for 16 touchdowns and a ton of yards. I mean, I don't think he can keep that up. And yeah, if you're looking at these top running backs, so I've seen people draft him in the first round. I think you're going to be upset with where you're getting first and second round is where he's going in.
I would agree with that with you right there, Eric. I think people that drafted him in the first round, I think you're going to be very disappointed. I don't think he's a RB, a running back that should be taken in the first round.
Even in the second round.
Maybe even, yeah, like if you would have got Kenyon Drake in the third round, I'd be like, okay, there's no way, you're fine. But where he's going, you're gonna want someone. You're gonna want like a Mixon or I'm trying to think of
Aaron Jones. Who would you rather have, Kenyon Drake or Aaron Jones?
Aaron Jones. I just think we just seen Aaron Jones be able to be successful through a full season with the Green Bay offense.
So this is actually.
I'm not saying Kenyon Drake is not going to have a better season than Aaron Jones. I'm just more confident at drafting Aaron Jones in the first round than Kenyon Drake.
Per Fantasy Pros ADP, Miles Sanders is actually going behind Kenyon Drake. Antonio, no, you wouldn't be agreed with that. Then Todd Gurley, Chris Carson, James Conner. And then right ahead of him, Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones. So he's right around there. So I mean, yeah, I think there's, he could fall. He could, disappoint people a lot because some people are drafting him even higher than that. And
yeah, he definitely should go around RB 10 to 12 range. He shouldn't be higher than that. You're right. First round's a little high. I got someone on the same team as Kenyon Drake.
That was actually standard scoring. But if you look at PPR, Aaron Jones is behind him, Todd Gurley, Chris Carson, James Conner. So it's still pretty much the same guys behind him, but Miles Sanders is actually above him. And
I had 8 drafts this past weekend. He went in the first round 5 times. 5 times.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype going on. I mean, just Arizona in general, there's a lot of hype. I mean, mine's DeAndre Hopkins. So I know, like Keenan said, we were sitting here always talking up Arizona and saying a lot of good things. Well, Eric, one of us are going to be wrong. I'm sure that's going to happen. But my version of my bust with DeAndre Hopkins, he's going as a top 5 wide receiver right now. I think he's going to finish out of the top 10. I think that they're going to Well, I did think a lot of this prior to him getting paid a couple days ago, but I still think Christian Kirk will be an ascension. He's going to come back. He's going to be healthy. He's going to take some targets from DeAndre. I just don't. That's a big thing. It's targets. He saw almost 30% in Houston. We've talked about that. I don't see 27%. I see closer to 25, if not a little lower, as far as targets go. And that's where I think Kirk's coming up. Larry Fitzgerald is still there, and like you said, Eric, Kenyon Drake, Chase Edmonds, a lot of mouths they feed. It's a spread offense, and they're very quick and fast tempo. So,
Can you imagine if this offense struggles?
yeah, it's like I just said. Like I don't think they're going to struggle. I do think everyone's going to do well for an NFL standpoint, but for a fantasy, I think a lot of people can get some points from some players. But like I said, at least with Hopkins and Drake, if they're both going in the first round, it might be tough to be seeing that value come back. That's for sure. I would 100%. I would rather have DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sorry. I would rather have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, Julio over DeAndre Hopkins. At least that's me.
Last year, Odell Beckham Jr. was going in the first 2 rounds. This year, he's going fourth, fifth round. Don't be surprised if Hopkins is going next year in the fourth or fifth round too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That's for sure. Oh, all right, that's going to move us on to our next segment, and that is going to be our impressed or stressed. And what that's going to be, we're going to talk about players that we are going to be impressed with this week, at least think we're going to be impressed with this week, and then players that we think are going to stress us out a little bit. Obviously, might have them in a starting lineup, but they may not get those expectations that we could have been hoping for. And we have a player at each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, with a little bonus sleeper for you on our impressed side. So, Keenan, why don't you start us off with what quarterback you're going to be impressed with for week 1?
It's funny. I got Big Ben. It's funny because people that don't want to start Roethlisberger in week 1 are the same people that are telling me they're starting Matthew Stafford. Both players, missed a lot of time last year due to injury. But I'm definitely not scared to start Ben Roethlisberger this year or this week because he's playing the New York Football Giants. They allowed 20.69 or 21 fantasy points per quarterback in 2019. That's pretty high. I think Ben Roethlisberger still has a couple years left in him, and he's got great talent around him. So as long as he can give the ball to his playmakers, I think Big Ben's a must start this week.
Yeah, I was talking about my juju for comeback, so I would love that hot start. That's for sure. For me, I got Aaron Rodgers, RELAX himself, coming back into this season. I'm sure they're hoping for. I know they're hoping to continue what they did, but he's got Minnesota, and he didn't do horrible against Minnesota last year. He had over 200 yards both times. One game he didn't have a touchdown, but I think he comes back and bounces back. Start off strong with Devontae Adams, and they get a W in Minnesota.
Yeah, I like that one. I got Jared Goff himself versus Dallas there. I think this could potentially be a shootout. Last year Dallas was one of the highest scoring teams or highest passing teams in the league, and now they add CeeDee Lamb and Mike McCarthy takes over that offense. So this could potentially be a very high scoring game. So yeah, I'm going with Jared Goff.
I like
Nice.
that one.
I do. Yeah, I do like that one. I like that one for sure. All right, I'm going to move us over to our stressed quarterback. My stressed quarterback is actually going to be Daniel Jones versus Pittsburgh. They are home. We just talked about Roethlisberger coming back. I think Pittsburgh is going to win this game handily. They have a very good defense. I think Daniel Jones is just going to have some tough times in his week 1 for the second year. He probably have a good season, but his week 1 is going to be a little tough. So I'm going to be sitting some Daniel Jones this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Antonio. That's definitely going to be a tough game there for Daniel Jones. You know who else might have a tough game is his buddy over there in New York, Sam Darnold. Until Adam Gase proves to me that he could run that New York Jets offense, I don't think I'm scared to start any of them. Not just Sam Darnold. I'm scared to start any Jet. Especially this week. I mean, Buffalo's a tough defense. Last year they only allowed 12.52 points, fantasy points per game to quarterbacks in 2019. I need my quarterbacks at least getting 22 to 25 points for me to be confident to get a W for my fantasy teams.
Yeah, I agree there. I'm not a fan of any of the Jets as well.
Are you a fan of any of the Giants?
Of the Jets, or either of. Oh no, I'm definitely a fan of the Giants. None of the
Well,
Jets.
maybe Jamison Crowder. Someone's got to get the underneath catches, and I think that's probably what will happen because it'll be very tough to be thrown towards those cornerbacks in Buffalo.
But are you going to take the gamble if you have a better option?
I think Crowder is definitely flex worthy. I think I could definitely see him getting 6-7 catches, maybe 60, 70 yards, could squeak a touchdown.
John Brown or him?
I would take Jamison Crowder.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he's gonna be the number one target. Mims is healthier, but he's rookie. He was injured a little bit. Herndon now is injured. I mean, Crowder might see 10 to 12 targets.
That's what worries me though especially for this week though, is especially with Trey White, just getting that big contract, he's gonna be playing with a little pep in his step too. If he's gonna be covering Jameson Crowder, I mean that might not be.
Yeah, that might.
No, you think he'll be on Mims or?
Yeah, I think we'll probably be covering Mims.
He did say that he's watched some tape from college for Mims because he hasn't obviously played him yet. So maybe that's a sign that he might be on Mims.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah.
But I'll
Sorry, I
move
didn't mean
over
to cut you off there talking about the Jets.
No, you're right. I'll move over to mine. It's Baker Mayfield versus Baltimore. It's just a few obvious reasons. I mean, Baltimore is a really good defense, really good team in general. The Browns struggled last year. I mean, obviously I think they're going to be better this year, but the new offense, they haven't had any preseason games to kind of play through those struggles. So I think they're going to start off a little bit slow, and then starting off facing Baltimore is never good.
No, it definitely is not. And I kind of have a player as well that's going to face a tough run defense. I have Joe Mixon. I think he's going to continue where he left off last season. He's got his money. He's got a rookie quarterback coming in that they're probably not going to lean on in game one. So, I mean, even though Derwin James is injured, I still think that they're going to lean on Joe Mixon a little bit. And we already know that Zach Taylor loves him. So I think he's going to impress us for sure. How about you, Keenan?
Well, I was looking at Todd Gurley stats last year. He wasn't as bad as we all thought he was. I thought he had a lot. I thought he had a horrible season compared to what he actually had. He had more than 1,000 scrimmage yards, 14 touchdowns last year. And I think, this Atlanta offense is going to count on him a little bit to take a little bit of pressure off Matty Ice there. We all know that Atlanta loves to throw the ball, but I think they're going to commit to, trying to run the ball and trying to move the sticks with Gurley. So I think this week, don't be afraid to start Gurley. I know last year he had those injuries. Everyone was scared. No one wanted to, obviously trade for him in Dynasty. But I think this week, you'll be all right if you start Todd Gurley, especially. I mean, he's playing Seattle. That's a tough team, tough defensive team, but I think he'll be all right because they are going to be committed to run the ball a little bit more than usual for Atlanta.
I'm a little indifferent there. I think Gurley will have a good year, but I think this week one will be a little tough for him. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot, like you said. Playing Seattle, they're going to be scoring, but he might get a lot in the passing game. That's where I'm really curious to see where they use him. But sorry, so we switched from our stress to our impressed. So we'll do running back, impressed, and stressed, then wide receiver, then tight end. So I apologize for flipping back. So I had Joe Mixon as my impress. Keenan just did Todd Gurley. And Eric?
Yep, I have Miles Sanders versus Washington. Um, you know they, the only people Carson Wentz has to throw to is his tight ends. There's not really anything wide receiver wise there for him. I think they're gonna rely on Miles Sanders this year a lot, as opposed to last year. Um, and Washington is just one of the worst football teams in the league. So it's not like it's going to be a high scoring game. They're going to try and just pound the ball, pound the rock, and just I don't know. I just think he's going to have a great game. And yeah, right now, I think what we were looking, he's not even in some people's top 10, which I just don't understand. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, I think he's definitely going to impress.
I don't understand why everyone's still not on. I don't understand why no one's on them, or why a lot of people aren't on that Miles Sanders bandwagon. I think he's going to be great. I really do. I should have listened to Antonio a little earlier this year, but we'll talk about that later.
Sure. Yeah. Who's your stress running back there, Keenan?
I got Le'Veon Bell. We talked.
Ooh, back to back Jets.
Yeah, I
I
don't
like it.
draft the Jets. I would have had a Jet tight end too, but Antonio yelled at me. He didn't want me to have all Jet players. So don't start any Jet players this week. Maybe Jameson Crowder. But I'm glad I didn't draft Le'Veon Bell in redraft leagues. I know we talked him up in an episode earlier this offseason. I just this is a tough this is a tough this division. Excuse me. I mean, you got New England and Buffalo, who are probably the one of the top two defenses in the league, and you got an upcoming Miami team as well. Until the like I said, same thing with Sam Darnold. Until Adam Gase can prove to me that he's able to run this Jets offense, and he's able to figure things out with Darnold and Bell and the other pieces around them. I'm staying away from all Jets players until further notice. So from week one till further notice, stay away from all Jets players.
And just Adam Gase, he scares me so much. Like I love Le'Veon Bell coming into this offseason, and just recently I'm so scared with Adam Gase. It's like he could get sat just out of nowhere. It's scary. Um,
Can you
so
remember
would you
when he was the Denver offensive coordinator and he was the talk of the league? What happened? He went
dude
to
Peyton Manning made his career.
Yeah, he made all that money. Yeah, because of Peyton Manning. I wonder how many careers Peyton Manning and Tom Brady have made over the years.
Yeah. Well, it's just crazy because when the Jets let him go, he'll probably get hired again somewhere else. Like the retread's insane.
I mean, he's gonna get hired as an offensive coordinator for sure. I don't know
Oh
about
yeah. Oh yeah. My running back that I'm stressing about is Jonathan Taylor at Jacksonville. I know that we're drafting him in the third, sometimes mostly fourth, fifth rounds, and we want to play him. He's probably our running back 2 or our flex, but I know Keenan's kind of the opposite. I mean, I think Taylor's going to take a little bit longer to get there. I think Marlon Mack's going to hold him off a good bit, and I think that week 1 is definitely not the time where he's going to beat Marlon Mack. He could get a touchdown. He could get like 40 yards and a touchdown. I could definitely see that, which might make you happy. But I think if you're expecting 100 yards and a touchdown, that's not happening.
I mean, when it comes to rookie running backs, I think not just Indy. I think all the teams that drafted a rookie running back. I think it's going to be hard for them not to give them the opportunity.
That's true, but it probably won't be week 1 with everything that's happened. I mean, some of the teams are right. I mean, CEH, but even with CEH, Darrell Williams is getting some talks about getting touches. And it's interesting.
But definitely before October, I think you'll see some of these running backs establish.
100%. Yeah, some of these guys aren't going to need injuries like Alvin Kamara's, Miles Sanders needed. I think these guys are going to win those jobs on their own. The Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins. Eric, who do you have for your running back? You're stressing.
Yeah, the running back I'm stressing about is Kareem Hunt, another one versus Baltimore. Um, I would go with somebody else, but there's actually a lot of people playing Hunt as their RB2 or flex positions. And I honestly think this week could potentially be a week you could sit him if you have another good flex option. Um, Mainly just because, again, he's going up against Baltimore, and I know he just got the contract, but we still don't know exactly what that backfield is going to look like. Um, so I do think this could be a week you could take back. Since you should have most of your bench healthy right now, so you should have a decent another flex option to throw in there, and just kind of take pause on the backfield and just see how it plays out.
So, would you rather play Kareem Hunt or Jonathan Taylor?
Jonathan Taylor.
How about you, Keenan?
This week, they're saying Antonio.
Yeah, this week.
I'll probably take Hunt. You're
I think Jonathan Taylor has way more upside. Just
But Kareem Hunt might get a lot of catches. That's the thing. If they're playing they are playing Baltimore. They probably will be behind. It means Kareem Hunt's going to play a little bit more than Nick Chubb might. Kareem Hunt could see 6-7 catches. I mean, especially without Jarvis. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I understand it. Yeah, they could just get a big pounding because Baltimore did that to Miami last year, week 1.
Yeah.
But what about Ronald Jones? Ronald Jones or Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt.
that's tough. I mean,
It all goes. I mean, Kareem Hunt has a proven track record. What you just said, Antonio, that he's going to get those catches no matter what. If he gets 8 catches, that's 8 points plus the yards. And if he scores a touchdown, you're looking at a 20-point game right there. All he needs is 5 to 8 catches for him to have a good fantasy day.
Yeah, or he could get 5 catches for 20 yards and nothing because that Baltimore defense killed it. So I think it's a good. I think it's a nice polarizing pick there, Eric.
I mean, anyone can have a bad day. Anyone can have a good day.
True, but not everybody's going up against Baltimore. Keenan.
Yes.
Who are you impressed about at wide receiver?
I'm going to go with the Bears killer himself, Kenny Galladay. My man has torched the Chicago Bears. I mean, last year, the first meeting, he had a 57-yard touchdown. And then he followed it up with a 4 reception for 158 yards and a touchdown on Thanksgiving Day with some guy named David Balago, Blough. Does anyone know him as his quarterback? And now he's got Blah. Yeah, Matthew Blah, we'll call him. Now he's got Mr. Matthew Stafford. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him coming back. I think you got to start this guy. I mean, if you're lucky enough to draft him, I don't think you're gonna be disappointed after this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep on saying that Galladay needs to get grabbed, man. He hasn't broke out yet. He led the league in touchdowns last year, and he still has not broke out. So that's a great pick, Keenan. I have Calvin Ridley, my man, my guy. Been talking about him all off season.
Can we pick a different wide receiver for one?
So let me tell you why, because I think he's gonna have a better week than Julio Jones will this week. Russell Gage is questionable, so if he plays, that really won't matter too much. But even if he doesn't play, I think it's just going to give you more reason for Matt Ryan to concentrate on Julio and Calvin Ridley. Hayden Hurst is coming in. I don't think he's going to have a crazy week 1. He'll get adjusted. I think a lot of targets are going to go Calvin Ridley and Julio's way, and they're playing against Seattle, like we said earlier.
Speaking of which, I got somebody on the other end of the matchup there. I have Tyler Lockett as my guy that I think will impress this week. Everyone all offseason has been on the DK Metcalf bandwagon, and they've been fading Lockett just because of injury towards the end of last season. But if you look at it in their playoff game, the last game they played, Tyler Lockett had 9 catches on 10 targets for 136 yards and a touchdown. That was the last game Seattle played.
I got Tyler Lockett in the 9th round this past weekend.
It's insane how much people are fading him, and he's still going to be, in my opinion, the wide receiver 1 there, at least this year, and he's going to be a big part of that offense. And he's playing the Falcons, who, another high-powered offense, and this could turn into a high-scoring game as well. So yeah, I'm going with Tyler Lockett this week.
Yeah, I love Tyler Lockett. If you can grab him as your wide receiver 2, you're golden. You really are.
And you can get him for cheaper than that. That's the great part about it.
Would you rather start Tyler Lockett or Juju? Juju's at the Giants.
Probably Juju just because of the matchup more. I'll be more confident with it. But I mean, you can't go wrong with either of them at this point.
The thing is, if Big Ben is Big Ben and he's good to go, which all the reports say he's looking great, then Juju has way higher upside just because of that offense alone.
I don't know about way higher, but I definitely agree that I think I would pick Juju as well.
Maybe not.
Lockett's just really efficient, and if they're throwing the ball a lot, he could get 10, 12 targets. What about Kenny Galladay, Keenan? Kenny Galladay or Tyler Lockett?
Galladay.
I'm Galladay there too.
I'm a huge Galladay fan. Over the last couple weeks, I've become a huge Galladay fan. So I think no matter who you put, even if you put Calvin Ridley, I'm taking Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, I mean, but you also got to look at you're paying a lot more for those guys as opposed to Tyler Lockett.
Yes. I mean, I've seen drafts where DK Metcalf is going ahead of Lockett. I thought it was a little crazy to me. I'm like, wait, Tyler Lockett eats up those catches all day. I feel like DK is more of that, I guess, that big play type of guy that's going to make that 50-yard catch, where Tyler Lockett's going to catch 2-3 passes to get the same 50 yards. But I mean, in fantasy
touchdown.
In fantasy football, especially PPR, you want the more catches the better. So I'd rather have Lockett over DK.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I definitely agree with you with the Lockett call. I'm not getting it either with DK. I think he's going to have to take probably not a step back, but he just didn't have that offseason most second-year wide receivers get to really grow and expand. And then you're bringing you bring Josh Gordon back in, which it just only hurts him more in the deep game.
So more. Hey, everyone.
Yes, that's true. Hopefully they just let Mr. Unlimited go. But
Pete Carroll won't.
No, he won't.
It's going to be so frustrating watching Sunday night game where Carson has 30 carries and Russell Wilson has 20 passes.
I hope to see 40. That'd be real nice. All right, I'm stressing over here about Amari Cooper facing the newly paid Jalen Ramsey. He'll be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. And I think they got, as we know, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, Blake Jarwin. I think this is a week where Amari might be a little bit underwhelming, and you're going to see those other guys, probably Michael Gallup more so, being the benefactor to that. So I'm a little low on Amari this week.
Yeah, I feel that. I do look at the cornerbacks, who the wide receivers playing against, and that's why, for me, I am stressing over Odell, especially with Landry not playing. So now you have one of the best cornerbacks in Marlon Humphrey has to only focus on Odell, and I think that Baltimore defense is going to suffocate him, and I don't see him having a big game. Did you know last year he combined for 6 receptions for 66 yards in both games against the Ravens? I know he was hurt and everything, but I mean,
yeah, it wasn't. Well, Jimmy Smith, Marlon Humphrey there. That's a scary defense.
Yeah. So I
like that call. I mean, I don't like it, but I like it.
I drafted Odell as my wide receiver 1 in one league, and I'm honestly thinking of not playing him.
They just got to give him the ball in the red zone. That's where he needs to see it.
What's that?
He needs to get the targets in the red zone, especially with Landry being out, Hooper being new. Like, Odell needs double-digit targets, and he needs to get the ball in the red zone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just a scary thing for me to.
Definitely is.
If it's Thursday night, I'm over here thinking of not playing him on Sunday. There's an issue. He's one of the best wide receivers in the game, and like we said about Hunt, they could shut him down. They could easily shut. I think there's more chance they shut Odell down than Hunt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, who do you have?
Mine is almost kind of an easy choice in a way, I think, but I do think a lot of people drafted him to be their flex spot. Potentially wide receiver 3 in some leagues, depending on what your roster construct is. But AJ Green for the Bengals, playing the Chargers, I believe. Yep, playing the Chargers. Um, I believe he just started practicing recently. He was coming off that injury. He was out. He's been out for a while. He's missed a lot of football. He's on the other end of 30. It's just he's got a rookie quarterback, so it's just a lot of things kind of working against him. I think. I do believe as long as he stays healthy throughout the year, he's going to get much better and healthier and everything. But for week one, I'm definitely fading him.
Yeah, it's skepticism. I understand it. It's fear of the new offense and him coming back. There's a lot of question marks. It's probably best to just let maybe week one play out and then see how week two goes. So why don't you, Keenan, move us over to who you're impressed with at tight end?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous about this one, but I'm still gonna start him if I have him in any of my leagues. I'm gonna go with Hayden Hurst. Someone's got to get those targets that Austin Hooper got last year, and the only reason I'm confident that he's going to be successful this week is because the Seahawks allowed the second most points to tight ends last season, and we all know that what Hooper did last year lined up at tight end for Atlanta. So, I mean, if he can get 6 catches and a touchdown, I think you're golden with Hayden Hurst.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier. I don't think he's going to have too much of a role this week. More maybe just getting in there, doing some blocking, running his routes. But yeah, I mean, you could be right. But I think Ridley's going to take a lot of that red zone. 4 touchdowns for Ridley
this week.
Whoa!
All right, I'll settle down just a little bit. My tight end that I think I'm going to be impressed with is Mike Gesicki against the Patriots this week. Mike Gesicki for the Miami Dolphins. Fitz is going to be starting. They're going to go right back to their instant connection. He was a top 8 tight end over the last 10 games last season. He was number 2 in air yards. He lines up a lot in the slot. I'm just excited for Mike Gesicki for this year coming in, building off the big year from last year. So I think he's. Oh, sorry.
I thought I saw something saying that they had him listed as their second tight end.
I mean, they probably do because, like I said, he lines up in the slot a bit more. So
yeah, I just thought it was interesting. I wasn't worried about him. I was wondering what you thought of that, though.
Those depth charts, they don't mean much.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's how they're gonna have to get past the Patriots. I know they're not the Tom Brady Patriots, but they're still gonna have to throw to beat them.
Still the Bill Belichick Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be something if Miami beat them now.
I know, isn't it crazy? He had a touchdown that game.
Miami just beat the Patriots last year with Tom Brady. Remember that big comeback win in Foxborough? I mean, it could happen again. I mean, it's not like Cam Newton is Tom Brady.
They want revenge. It kept him out of the playoffs.
No, it didn't.
Or not out of the playoffs. I'm sorry, from the bye.
Yeah, the bye week. Yeah, which probably changed a lot. Belichick
definitely did.
I mean, who doesn't?
All right, Eric. Who are you impressed with? Not so surprised.
Yeah, not surprised here. It's my man, Tyler Higbee. I know I just keep pounding his name this offseason, but I just think he's going to be great. There's reports saying that he's still going to be one of the top options for Jared Goff. They're going to run this 2 tight end set offense, and it's going to be more of what it was towards the end of the season last year. No, I don't think he's going to be on that ridiculous pace that he was on, 137 catches for 1,600 yards. But take 40% away from that, he's still got 1,000 yards and at least 80 catches. So I think this year he's going to have a great season. Week 1, like I said earlier, I think this could potentially be a high-scoring shootout, and I think he's going to be a big part of that offense. So I think we're going to be impressed with him.
How much you love Calvin Ridley, Antonio, and how much you love what's the tight end?
Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, Tyler Higbee. I need to find me a love. I need to find me a player that I love as much as you two love those two guys.
You'll find them.
Talking about them. You'll find them. Left out.
When you're not looking for him, Keenan, he'll come around.
We'll look for love. Love just fine.
Eric, would you rather play Tyler Higbee or Zach Ertz?
Zach Ertz, just because there's literally no other options there in Philly. Um, yeah,
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair. I was curious. I was curious. Keenan,
You stumped him.
who
You stumped him.
he did. Who you stressing about at tight end, man?
Um, you know, Evan Ingram, and the only reason we already mentioned it because or Antonio, you mentioned it when we talked about Daniel Dimes. That Pittsburgh defense is tough, and they only allowed 8 touchdowns last year to the tight end position. So this year, I am stressing out. This week, I'm stressing out about Evan Ingram, and also his. I want to see if he's completely healthy before I commit to him at a starting role for my team. But if he is healthy, I do see him having a good year after week 1 because look what Jason Garrett did with Witten all those years. Not saying that Evan Ingram is Jason Witten, but I mean he's still pretty talented player. So if Jason Garrett can get the production out of Ingram like he did out of Witten, I think you'll be happy throughout the year. But I think this week you should be a little nervous starting him.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's very fair. Yeah, kind of like you said, I don't like Daniel Jones, so it's tough for me to like Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
So that's a good call. But Eric, someone that I do think might do a little better than you're anticipating. Who are you stressing about at tight end?
Yeah, another polarizing young tight end, Noah Fant, going up against the Titans this week. Um, it's more so because I think this team, with adding Melvin Gordon, they want to run more. Yes, I know they added Jerry Jeudy as well, but he's still a rookie, so he's still got to work through some things. He didn't get a preseason at all. Um, Not only that, but just this game in general. The Titans, they're gonna put this ball on the ground. They're gonna run it through Derrick Henry. It's gonna be a low scoring defensive game. Um, and yeah, I don't think there's gonna be enough there for Noah Fant to impress anyone at all. Um, so yeah, I'm fading him for this week as well.
Yeah, kind of reasons you just said those why I like him for this week. Like you said, Judy rookie, Hamlin rookie, Melvin Gordon low new. I think Cortland Sutton might get shut down, and Fant's going to be that little shining light in that offense. He's not going to get beyond the strict defense of the Titans, but I think he could definitely pile some catches and yards. But somebody that I'm stressing about is Rob Gronkowski, and it's really for everybody else that I'm stressing about because I have no shares of him anywhere. I actually still like OJ Howard more than Rob Gronkowski. Aaron's himself has made comments that, we're going to find ways to get Gronk in there, or, there's talks about potentially even having him on a snap count. I mean, that doesn't make me feel good. And for him to be drafted as a top 10 tight end, still being started in every league, or a lot of leagues, I don't know, man. I wouldn't even have him on some rosters. Well, I lied. I understand having him on some rosters, but he's definitely not my tight end one I'd want.
You know, I'm sitting there on draft day over the weekend, and people are taking him in the 7th round,
Way too early.
8th round, 9th round, 10th round, 11th round, 12th round. I'm like, what? What are you doing? The guy is coming off being retired not even a couple months ago. Is he even in football shape? This was more of a Tom Brady signing, not a Tampa Bay Buccaneers signing. Because if Tom Brady didn't call the shots on that, Gronk would not be there. It would just be the OJ Howard show. So, I think I said it in the past where I think Gronk can have a good year because it's going to be Tom Brady's security blanket. But on the other hand, I'm not drafting him any earlier before the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th round because I can't trust him. I'd rather have Mike Gesicki, from Miami. I'd rather have OJ Howard on his own team. I was shocked. I'm like, good, take him.
Yeah, I'm shocked as well as how high people are taking him, but
isn't the grind?
I think I think the whole snap count thing is definitely legitimate. He's definitely going to be on snap count, but I think the snaps he's going to be out there are going to be important snaps. red zone snaps, snaps they need a first down, those types of snaps. And Tom Brady is going to be looking for him because, like you said, that's a safety blanket. And especially with Mike Evans out potentially, that's more if Mike Evans is out, I'm more comfortable with Gronk. I do think there's 12 tight ends you can find better than him. But if you're in a deeper league, and Mike Evans is out, I don't think he's a terrible play for this week.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the thing. If he's a top 10 tight end, it's probably because he got 2 catches for 9 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's
Even 1 touchdown for tight ends. I mean, one
Yeah.
touchdown and a catch or 2, and
Let's just
you're
say
already in top 10.
I'd rather start Evan Ingram than Robert Gronkowski this week.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Well, I mean, I was almost gonna. Well, I guess how about Noah Fant? We just talked about Gronkowski or Fant.
It's just the potential. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd rather have Fant, but like I have Gronk low. I don't have Gronk in my top 12 at all. So I mean,
I just don't understand. I don't understand the love. I was shocked. I was really shocked. And it was a lot.
I'm not shocked though because it's Tom Brady and Gronk.
Yeah, it's hype. It's what the people want to see.
That's what people want to see. But I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you've been playing fantasy football for a while, and you're making this pick right now. I don't know, man. I could be wrong at the end of the season. And be like, damn.
Yeah. At the same time, it's Gronk though, so I'm not gonna bet against him at the same time because who knows? I mean, he's.
Yeah. Well, we'll see with that one, but I still think it's OJ Howard. All right, let's move on to our impressed sleepers. We got a couple, a sleeper for each of you, a sleeper from each of us that we're going to be impressed with for week 1. Mine is going to be Stephon Diggs. Now, how do you call him a sleeper? Well, you call him a sleeper because he keeps getting faded on. I mean, he's like a bottom end, top end wide receiver 3 in a lot of rankings. And like, I think my man's going to be able to finish as a potential high end wide receiver 2. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. Buffalo's going to show why they paid him. I think they're going to handle the Jets, and they're going to throw it early because they're going to handle the Jets and then probably run it the rest of the game. So Stephon Diggs is my player that I'm making sure he's not on my bench.
John Brown last year, week 1 against the Jets, he had 7 receptions on 10 targets, over 100 yards and a touchdown. Diggs is probably going to get the same kind of looks that Brown got last year. And
yeah, I mean, they got no cornerbacks over there, man.
Come on, like, it's so frustrating. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a homer, but whatever.
Yeah, he's gonna surprise him. We'll talk about your sleeper, Keenan.
Eric, why don't you go? I'm trying to pull up my notes over here.
Yeah, no problem. Mine's kind of a deep sleeper,
I love it.
but somebody who is getting a lot of hype right now and legitimately could have a really good week. And that's Bryan Edwards, the rookie in Las Vegas. They're saying him and Ruggs are going to be the starters there. And, we've seen Derek Carr before have 2 top wide receivers and able to produce a high-powered offense. If Derek Carr could stay healthy and play good, I mean, I don't see why both him and Ruggs can't both have good games. I mean, look at Tyrell Williams was putting up good games in this offense last year. So, I mean, he's a deeper sleeper, but he's someone that you might want to check your waiver wire for as well.
Yeah, if you're in a 17 team guillotine league like I am, put him on your roster.
Even 14 teamers, potentially even 12 teamers.
I would say even a 10 teamer, I'd probably grab him because he looks like he's going to be a star over in Oakland. Las Vegas. They really like him. All right, Keenan, you get to close us out.
Yeah, I got James White here. There's a lot of factors to this. I think there's a bunch of injuries over there in New England. You got Damian Harris, who's on an injured reserve. You got Sony Michel, who's still limited with his snap count, and they're continuing to work him back into the offense there. White is honestly probably the only Patriots running back that they can trust right now. But now you got Julian Edelman on the injury report with a knee injury, who might not even play. So James White might be the only reliable receiver / running back to trust in New England. And I mean, you got Cam Newton there who is getting used to the offense. What's the easiest thing to do? Sorry, the baby monitor's going off. What's the easiest thing to do is to dump it off to your running back. Not only that, but the Patriots know the weakness of the Dolphins' two newest linebackers, Kyle Van Noy and Roberts is the other one. They used to play for New England. So do you think Bill Belichick's not going to expose that? I'm sure he will. So I think James White is a great option if in deep leagues, and maybe
Not even deep leagues. I love
he's
that
a great,
pick.
great flex. I might even like him as
I
an
drafted
RB2.
him. I drafted him in a lot of leagues pretty late, actually. He is going to legitimately potentially see over 100 targets and get an increased workload in the run game just because of the injuries and Sony Michel being limited.
Do you trust Sony Michel though? Like even if he does come back, like
that's exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's not the best runner, obviously, but Damian Harris wasn't able to take him over, and Michelle couldn't show much. I know he's been injured, Harris, but I don't know. I think they're going to
even reports say that Sony Michel is going to have a huge workload this year too.
Right.
So.
I think he's going to get the ball. It's just they want to give him the ball. He just hasn't had his full shot yet, and I think Cam might actually help him a bit better than Tom Brady.
Look what Cam did with Christian McCaffrey. You know, he loved dumping it down to him, and let him do all the work. And James White.
Yeah, well, that's where White will come in. You're right.
And James White, I mean, I'm not saying he's Christian McCaffrey, obviously, but I mean, he's still pretty good.
He's one of the best. He was one of the best value picks this year in draft.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather draft him in the 7th round than Gronk.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. All right, that's gonna wrap up our impressed or stressed for the week. That's gonna wrap up the episode for the week. Again, I can't believe football's here. It's going to be great. I hope you guys enjoy the game. If you have any questions.
What do you got tomorrow? What do you got tomorrow? Houston, KC?
Kansas City's going to.
Kansas City.
They're going to handle them like they did in the playoffs.
Okay.
It'll be a great game to watch, so it really will. Deshaun Watson will get to show his stuff without Hopkins.
I want to be different and just say Houston's going to win, but I can't.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you just can't.
I mean, that kind of takes away an option for him. So
true. All right, guys. Yeah. So if you have any questions, make sure to tweet it to pod at Dynasty Mafia _FF. Make sure you're following that. Make sure you're following all of us as well. I'm at Antonio Denisi FF. You can find Keenan at Keenan _716 and Eric at Eric D _FF. Make sure to find us on YouTube so you can check out the vid. Make sure to subscribe. Come say hello. Make sure, submit your rosters. We want to get some rosters to start going over as well, just to help you out with your weekly submissions, setting your lineup. So we'll get that moving too. And like I said,
if your roster selected, you might win a hat or a shirt. You never know.
Yeah, we got some giveaways coming up this season. There's a lot of good stuff. Very excited. And thanks again for watching. For those of you that are new, thanks for listening. Welcome here to the Mafia. And we'll see you next week, everybody. Good luck. Mafia out.